Alright guys, Jameson and Alex here. Today we're going to be talking about the Festus Domain Cleric from the Griffon Saddlebag Book 2. They were so kind to sponsor an entire series covering all 12 of the subclasses in this book. If you want to get access to all of those and tons more, check out their Patreon links down below. If you're new to the channel, what we're going to do is go through all the abilities gained in the subclass. We're going to rate it based on its roleplay, combat, and overall synergy, based on how the abilities gained in the subclass improve the base class abilities.
That's right.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to be entered in our D&D Beyond Players Bundle giveaway. And let's just get right into it. Alex, what do we get, Festus Domain?
We get spells, because it's cleric. I know it's a sore subject, clerics getting too many spells and whatnot, but they get spells, so do it. And that spell list include Good Berry, Purify Food and Drink, Heat Metal, Protection from Poison, Create Food and Water, Stinking Cloud, Blight, Control Water, Cloud Kill, and Contagion. So
very thematic.
Yeah,
very thematic.
Interesting combination of spells. We're also getting some bonus proficiencies, which include Heavy Armor, Martial Weapons, Brewer Supplies, and Cook's Utensils. And again, I brought this up in some of the other videos, and I will. Artwork is great in this book.
Absolutely.
And the number one thing I look at is all of the just like title artwork for each subclass. You see it, and you know exactly what the subclass is going to be about.
Yep.
And it's fantastic, and I love every bit of it. And I really hope that the actual mechanical weapon like he holds in his hand is what he uses to do things with, because it looks like it's a little like soup cauldron or like boiling pot,
on a mace.
Like on a mace. And I want it. It's like when you finish beating somebody up with it and then clean it off and then start making stew in it.
There you go.
Sorry, I'm looking right at it. It's fantastic. I can't help myself.
Also at level 1, we have Table Turner. At first level, you can cause an attacker's own body to turn against itself. When a creature within 5 feet of you that you can see hits you with an attack, you can use your reaction to cause the creature to make a Constitution saving throw against your cleric spell save DC. On a failed save, the creature takes 1d12 poison damage and is poisoned until the end of its next turn. On a successful one, it takes half as much poison damage and isn't poisoned. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your Wisdom modifier, a minimum of once. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest.
Nifty. Next up is your Channel Divinity use for your subclass, which is Create Healing Draft. You can use your Channel Divinity as an action to create a small and magically concentrated potion called a Healing Draft. The potion appears in a small glass bottle in your free hand or at your feet, your choice, and is a deep blue color with flecks of gold. A creature that uses a bonus action to drink this potion, that's important, bonus action, regains a number of hit points equal to 2d6 plus your cleric level.
All right.
The bottle and any undrunk healing draft returns to dust and is lost when you finish a short or long rest.
There you go. Some interesting alternative options for some healing.
Yes.
Level 6, we get Strong Stomach. You have advantage on saving throws against poison and have resistance to acid and poison damage. So we're getting 2 damage resistances.
Yes.
That's a big deal. In addition, whenever you cast the Create Food and Water spell, the food tastes delicious, and you can choose to replace up to 5 gallons of the water created by the spell with ale or wine. You choose what the food and ale or wine look like and taste like. Finally, if you're drunk or poisoned, you can use an action to magically suppress the effect for 1 minute. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. So definitely some RP potential in that one, which we will get to here in a minute. Before we continue on to the last 2 abilities of the subclass, we give a quick shout out thank you to our other sponsor today, which is the Hit Point Press Humblewood Tales Kickstarter, which is running currently, so make sure you check that out, guys. It's an expansion, lore for the world to build on, all kinds of crazy cool adventures, like fighting against the Slime King and all kinds of other cool things that can be added. Unique setting, if you want to get away from the traditional fantasy setting, which definitely can be a nice, refreshing change of pace. So make sure you check that out in the link in the description down below.
Back to our abilities with the chosen flip a coin, and which abilities are going to be level 8 for the cleric. Is it going to be improved cantrips? Is it going to be Divine Strike? We're getting Divine Strike. Makes sense. Martial weapons and whatnot. Heavy armor. You're a big boy. You get in there and you smack people. Once each of your turns hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can cause the attack to deal an extra 1d8. This is interesting. Acid or poison damage. Your choice to the target. When you reach 14th level, this extra damage increases to 2d8. Nifty, because that's the first time I think I've heard that. Whether it's an official cleric or unofficial. I think it's the first time there's been 2 different choices. And a lot of stuff does resist poison. Acid is much less likely to be resisted, but in the off chance that you're hitting something that's resistant to acid but not poison, you can switch, which is wonderful.
And there's no like short rest to do so or action or anything. You just choose to do it.
When I whop him, is it poison or is it acid? That's great.
Mm-hmm. And then lastly, we have Invigorating Feast at 17. You can say a special prayer before eating a meal to enchant it and other food of your choice within 30 feet of you with unique protections. A creature that eats this enchanted food over the next 10 minutes gains 2d6 plus 10 temporary hit points, is immune to being charmed, and can't be put to sleep by magic. These benefits last for 8 hours and don't set in until these 10 minutes are over. You and up to 6 other willing creatures of your choice gain these benefits by partaking in the meal. Once you use the feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. So if you're familiar with Hero's Feast, there are some implications that tie along with that, which we will get into now in the rating portion of the video. First up is the roleplay value, asterisk as always. Talking about roleplay, we're talking about interacting with the world around you, interacting with NPCs, non-combat scenarios, avoiding combat, basically things outside of the initiative order. Not talking about your class fantasy, history, lore, background that's on you as a player. We can't rate you, but we can rate the abilities gained in the subclass and how they might improve your potential in those roleplay scenarios.
That's right.
So, all of that being said on here, it is very thematic, if anything, subclass.
Which this book Buck? I said words today. It's been
a day.
Anyway, everything in this book we've read through and have reviewed it thus far has been like that. Like everything, it's got a theme and it finds ways to make interesting different abilities that all fit under one nice little umbrella.
Absolutely. Though we don't care about theme and roleplay, we care about mechanics. What do these abilities give us?
What are we freaking doing?
Mechanical standpoint. So we have a decent roleplay spell list on here. We have lots of options dealing with food and drink and adjacent, food and drink adjacent, like control water could be adjacent food. I mean, they can come up. There's all kinds of some stinking cloud, I think. I mean, you're eating. There's biological things that come from eating.
Yeah.
Stinking. Very interesting on there. Roleplay stuff. All that being said, brewers and cooking proficiencies are nice, though probably going to be more on the niche side of things.
I mean, it's one of those things, like, they're definitely RP used, but how often you're going to be able to actually use them, that'll be the question.
You do have some really niche uses as well with the Channel Divinity healing potion for roleplay.
Yes.
Because what is going to happen with that typically is it's going to really let you have more access to spell slots because you're not going to need to use Cure Wounds or Healing Word as often.
Mass Cure Wounds, whatever.
So you're healing spells as often, which is going to free you up more spell slots for roleplay. So it's one of those indirect roleplay things where something that you typically would be more focused on, you can be much less focused on and still have a decent impact with. And then, of course, suppressing drunk or poison can definitely come into RP. You want to have a drinking contest or maybe get someone a little bit wasted so you can learn some information that they shouldn't otherwise
talking down on a price on something, you know.
Right. So definitely can come into play on there, though it is only a minute, so you got to be really efficient with your time in that minute of suppressing. And then, of course, we have the feast and cooking with creating food and changing it and everything like that. There's definitely some roleplay that can be done there as well, especially if you're creative.
Because getting around being immune to charm, which definitely can happen in RP, so that's getting around that.
For sure.
Sleep by magic could definitely happen in an RP situation as well. I'm just going to say no to both of those things.
Definitely. So that being said, we went with a 3.5 out of 5. There's some interesting options on here. They might skew a little bit more on the niche side because you have to be in really specific circumstances for food and drink things to really come up.
Right.
It can come up, but how often is it really going to come up?
So, and your Invigorating Feast is once a day.
Right.
So, that getting around those two status conditions is, it does last for 8 hours.
Yes.
But, if you did that first thing at the beginning of the day, by the late evening, it's not going to be in effect anymore.
And it's a capstone on there as well.
Sure.
But you got to think about it.
You got to keep
that in mind.
Yeah.
Yes.
On the combat side of things, there are definitely some interesting options here. I think, one of those spells on that list, and, Jameson brought it up the other day when we were talking about this. The Heat Metal spell is a very underappreciated spell because, if you heat metal on somebody's weapon, they're not either they can't hold it.
Their armor.
Their armor. They're going to either take the turn to get rid of it, or they're going to just sit there and just take the damage every turn, which is fantastic. And then, Blight, Cloud Kill, Contagion are very, very interesting. poisony, sickly spells and things. And Control Water has got some got some crowd control stuff you can use in combat. So the interesting things for sure. Heavy armor, martial weapon proficiencies, great, because with you getting Divine Strike and 2 different damage types on top of that to switch between, and right there on the moment, I'm going to swing, and I choose right then. It's not a pick every short, long rest or whatever, so that's fantastic. Your Table Turner ability, somebody hits you, you have a chance just to turn around and smack them back for a D12 and give them the poison condition, which it's not, so it's not just damage, it's a chance to give that.
Oh. Con save.
It is con save. I was like,
That's always got to be a factor.
That's one of the weaknesses of poison damage and cold damage in general.
Yeah.
Is they almost always target Constitution based saves. So later in games, they're just not as good.
Yeah. When
they're fighting a bunch of big stuff, because everything that's big late in game is going to have at least a pretty good Constitution, if not a really high one.
We talk a lot about that in the Pestilence Cleric from Velda's about Constitutions and their efficiency at lower levels. Is with those saves, you want to make sure you target stuff that's under 8 CR. Is going to be the most efficient way of using those abilities.
With the Channel Divinity, of course, giving you a chance to create your own healing potion that does scale a little bit, because it's 2d6 all the time, but it's plus your cleric level, so you're going to have a good floor that comes with that every time. So it's immediately going to outscale the bottom levels of healing potions you can purchase.
Yeah. Which
in a lot of campaigns, there's a base value with the book sets for those. And those
44 plus 4.
Yeah, and those can get really expensive gold value if you're not just swimming in gold. So the fact that you can you can make one, every so often.
Most time going to be more effective. Quite a bit more effective.
Especially because of that floor of a plus, 8, plus 10, plus 15, whatever you're at. It's going to be fantastic. Because just like with the RP, this will free you up to use your spell slots to either do more damage, do more CC, things like that. You don't have to worry about, giving somebody a cure wounds when you have made this. You finished a rest. Now that you're going back out, you may see a combat soon. You're just going to use your Channel Divinity, make one, and all right, you monk, take this.
Yes.
So in case you need it, you've got it on hand. That's fantastic. So, of course, the feast, you're getting temporary hit points as well. I need to make sure you mention that ahead of time as well, because it does last for 8 hours. So if you don't get into combat for the first part of the day, those temporary hit points are going to be sitting there for a while at least till you get them. It's not a ton, but you're getting your whole party a decent amount of hit points, plus the ability to immune to being charmed, put to sleep the magic. So there's a little bit of help in there. Total score-wise, a 3.5 out of a possible 5 for all the things mentioned before. Not a ton of offensive output for yourself.
Right.
You get the retribution damage. You're getting some extra healing, some interesting spells, and your Divine Strike. You're definitely going to be a more utility-based cleric, which is fine. But that's what you're going to get.
Yeah, and on the synergy side, kind of tying in with that, something that goes along with this is it really is much more of a defensive subclass, which you'll sometimes see things that are more focused on offense, which, wait for the next subclass video we do, or this kind of subclass where you focus more on the defensive side of things. That being said, having 2 resistances is great.
Yeah.
Just in off the bat, you're never going to be upset about having 2 free resistances.
Nope.
Ever.
It's not
and those are pretty common.
And it's not trigger
types.
it for anything. It's a passive all
right.
the time.
And those are just pretty common as well anyways.
Especially poison, goodness.
Definitely going to be coming in handy there for survivability. And then, of course, heavy armor on top of that. Oh, man, you're getting some really solid utility on there. Martial weapons are nice, though you are a cleric. You're only going to get 1 attack.
Yep.
So it is what it is. It's not as impactful for clerics as it is for, say, fighters or other classes that get extra attack.
Yes.
So
that's why you get Divine Strike to get around. So you only have to swing once, it does hurt more.
Yeah, you have less opportunities to hit, but when you do hit, it does deal more damage. So it's kind of that ebb and flow, give and take of being a cleric. The Channel Divinity option is always going to be useful. As we said, it's going to be really impactful. It's going to let you save spell slots. It's going to be more efficient than your spell slots you would probably be using anyways for those things, or potions.
Yep.
And it's a bonus action that anyone can use, which is huge, because that just lets people free up their turns even more than using a regular potion,
which takes an action
and does less healing.
Yes, correct.
So it's definitely very interesting, and it doesn't impact your turn, which is probably the most important thing.
And as someone who mains cleric, I'm going to give a very specific description here with this Channel Divinity ability. It is so important that a cleric subclass gives a Channel Divinity option that is useful all the time.
Yeah.
Because the base one is only going to mess with undead.
Right.
And if you go 3, 4, 5, 8, 15 sessions and you've not seen a single undead creature, one of the base features of your entire class
is gone.
It's just completely useless.
Yeah.
So I mean, there are some other subclasses for clerics out there that have another channel divinity that's kind of niche use.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels bad.
Right. So you don't even have an ability sometimes.
Right. So it's like you've got one of your base abilities. It would be like a rogue having sneak attack and been given a curse that says he has disadvantage on all his attacks and can't gain advantage on any of his attacks. So it's like. Guys, I'm going to go on vacation for like a week.
So yeah, I'm just sitting here with my 1d4 daggers.
Yeah, exactly. So like, you're taking away just an absolute, core of what the class can do. So again, it may not excite a lot of people because it's not, it's not Tempest Cleric capping out damage.
Right.
But it's useful.
It's efficient. Yeah.
It's useful and effective all the time.
Yeah, so that being said, we gave it a 4 out of 5 for the synergy.
Because if you've seen a lot of our series, clerics usually default to a 4. To a 3
yes.
on their synergy because they don't have a ton to synergize with.
Right.
Spells, channel divinity is it.
That's a big part of it for sure.
So again, and also with this spell list you've got with this Festus Cleric, a lot of these spells like the Good Berry and the Purify Food and Create Food, Protection from Poison, a lot of those spells you're probably not ever going to choose to prepare.
Right.
But there will be times you wish you had, but you're like, well, one day out of 40, I wish I would have had this. But now with these, they're always prepared for you. You don't have to worry about ever thinking about it. So you're free to focus on what you really want to prepare. So you've got some niche stuff that's always in the back pocket.
Definitely. Yeah, I think this is a very interesting defensive option for a cleric.
Yes.
So again, there's defensive subclasses, offensive subclasses. You're going to skew sometimes more on one or the other. Yep. And then you usually also have, of course, some of the more well-rounded ones as well, which...
So, some are more RP, some are more combat,
There's like this,
four grid here.
Yeah, grid.
RP
it's
combat.
Like the sliding scale. Like if it's more combat, it's up here, but that means it's also, more synergy. Lots of stuff.
XYZ coordinates, baby.
Yes. So, all that being said, guys, a really interesting, flavorful, pun intended... cooking and
he's a dad now, and they have just those jokes just keep firing out.
So thank you. Whoa!
I
know we're resistant to acid damage.
Yeah, that's right. I ain't scared of him.
Anyways, that's gonna wrap it up for today, guys. Thank you again to Griffon Saddlebag. It's been awesome reading through these subclasses. Can't wait for you guys to see the rest of them.
Yes,
lots of fun, cool, awesome content on here from their second Kickstarter on here. So make sure you check out their website. Down below we'll have links to that. Awesome homebrew from them. And of course our other sponsors today, Humblewood Tales, Kickstarter.
It's a great intro way for maybe you're trying to convince some friends to give it a shot.
Yes.
And they was like, well, it's just always just, dungeon crawling with dragons. It's like, what if I told you your best friend is a fox? It's like,
sweet. Sold. Let's go. Let's chat. So get you into that different alternative to the normal kind of fantasy tropes on there. Yep. So check it out, guys. Awesome stuff from both of these guys on here.
Yeah,
we like to pick sponsors that we ourselves are proud to work with.
Yeah, so we know put out quality stuff.
Exactly. Because I get requests all the time from random stuff, and I'm like, I don't feel comfortable doing this stuff. We want to make sure the stuff we're getting you guys out here is of a certain level of quality that we want to make sure is worth your time and effort. So please, if you get a chance, check these out. I promise you're not going to be disappointed. No. But that's all for today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so you know when our new videos are coming out. And as always...
Better for the free giveaways.
Exactly.
Come on.
And as always, guys...